Welcome back to the podcast, viewers, where we interview some of Gold Coast's most successful entrepreneurs and business people and content creators, people with personal brands. Today we have a special guest, Chad Hewitt, here today. He has a massive personal brand, around 500,000 followers across all social media platforms. He's also an actor and a model working on some pretty exciting projects, which we're going to hear about today. Welcome, Chad. How are you?
Thank you for having me, guys. I was just saying when I walked in here how crazy the setup is and how professional it looks. So I'm really, really excited to talk with you all today about this.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I guess I'll start off with, for someone who's listening, has no clue who Chad is.
Yep.
Who is Chad?
Look, you very much spoke highly of me, and I thank you for it. But to be honest, I'm a kid who is just searching to find who he is. And that sounds so cheesy, but it's the truth. I've loved being a creator my entire life. And so when I was about 4 years old, I started getting into acting and theater, and I loved putting on makeup. And it was just this weird reality for me of almost wanting to be someone else. And then I found, that I could turn that kind of satisfaction of being someone else into, making money with it. And that's never been the goal, but it's being a content creator on social media to show what I love doing. I couldn't want anything more.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, speaking of making money from just being yourself and figuring yourself out, how have you monetized your personal brand? Because it's pretty big.
Well, I amassed, it's taken me a while to get a following, as you say. Especially on Instagram. Instagram is kind of the central hub where monetization takes place. You've got other, apps like TikTok, but companies are really looking at Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I met Kyle, who runs Kaiko Media, last year, and I had about 10,000 followers, and that was still pretty big for me at the time. And we got to fundamentally understand each other as creators, and we said, what are we both looking for to show off what we like doing? I liked creating, he liked videography, and it merged really nicely for us. And honestly, in the last year, it's been about creating a team of people around me that I can contact at any time to go at 2 a.m. I've got this crazy idea. Don't ask me questions. Are you in or you're out?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And 95% of the time, it's been, let's do it. And so it's honestly just been about having a team.
Yeah, cool.
To create the following.
And just quickly as well.
Yeah.
What sort of, do you have any businesses that you do? You obviously have a personal brand. Do you have anything else that you also do as well?
Yeah. So, God, it's something I'm sure we can bring up later, but in the pipelines, I've got a production company I'm looking to create for films. But when you talk about monetization of a brand, for me, it's Chad as a brand. Who am I? Not everyone's going to like you in this world. I can tell you that for a fact. But for me, it's a brand of who I am, of what I put out to the world, and that's how I'm making money. But like I say, the making the money, it's such a far distance from what I truly love. It's just a bonus for me.
That's sick, man. So I mentioned before that you're an actor, you're a model. You obviously put yourself out there on social media, you're good at growing your personal brand. What other experiences do you have?
I grew up in a family that had to survive. And I know that sounds crazy, but my dad had to put, dinner on the table every day, and we didn't know if we might get it when I was quite young, to be honest. And seeing how my dad climbed the rank for me really pushed me in the direction of you have to put your heart and soul out there on the line. And so I guess the learning path for me has always been about just being a good person, somebody that is honest with the people around them, and who has the right intention. And I learned a lot about my dad, as he was quite big in the car industry for motorsport, and sort of seeing that grinding mentality has always been something I've really taken a key eye to.
Yeah, so you'd say you're all these things, but the main thing that's gotten you there is just like that hustle mentality and actually.
Yeah, and just and being honest. You know,
Yeah.
it's funny. People our age, a lot of people think they know everything,
That's true.
and the truth is, it's so far away from that. People at 70, 80, 19 years old are still learning things about themselves. And I think the biggest thing I've learned is to just enjoy the process of learning.
It's really good to see because, like you were just saying with your dad, like, you know, getting the plate on the table, and he's grown himself as a man. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, he was working with Jaguar, right?
Yeah, Jaguar, all of it.
I'd just like to know, like, how has your parents, like, influenced you to become who Chad is?
By taking a step back, and that sounds crazy. They were people that have no understanding of the creative industry. But what they did is they said, I can't help him necessarily get into that pathway, which hurts, but I'm going to support him in every way I can by taking a step back and letting him come in at 2 a.m. and not getting angry or not being upset. And that really helped me.
Do you think your parents having your back's been a real helped you with your success?
It's the only thing that's got me to where I am. I would be nowhere without them. And I talk about my dad's grinding mentality, but my mother's nurture, as for all of us, I'm sure, my mother's nurture has been, oh my God.
It plays a massive part.
It plays, you know, boys will put up a thick wall to it, but deep down we're softies for our mom. It's so true. And yeah.
That's sick, man. So who are some of the, what are your favorite people that you've worked with in your career so far?
Oh my God, where do I start? Gina Black, she's a huge name in the film industry in Australia, especially. You know, she's worked with people like Heath Ledger, who was my hero growing up.
Okay.
And having her kind of nurture me and guide me in the right pathway as a filmmaker has played a crucial role in me, as I said, not rushing everything and not being like, it has to be now, now, now. As artists, we have to have it now, otherwise somebody else is going to get it before me. And the truth is, Gina taught me a process of, just as I said, enjoying that almost the strain of trying to reach that goal. And then, you know, I look at another aspect. As I said, I never got the opportunity to work with him. But Heath Ledger, when I looked at his process to his craft of, you know, work, was just that grinding, stick it in a room for 3 months before I play the Joker and win an Oscar for it mentality. And nobody expected it from a man like that and a talent like that. And I hope to forge my own career path in the industry of filmmaking, but to have somebody like him to look to, it's been so good for me.
What would you say your biggest achievement has been so far?
You know, I could sit here and completely go, gaining all these followers and you know, getting pictures on the streets with people and thinking this is so cool. But the genuine truth is, seeing my mum and dad this year at an awards ceremony called the AACTA Awards, where all the big names, Margot Robbie and all that. And when I saw them there, I've never ever felt so happy in my life. And the joy it is to see your parents look at you and go, you know, he's not the big name or anything, but he's there. He's in the room. And that for me was a blessing to just have them on my side.
What working on set is huge, right? It's funny actually. I was working on the same set Chad was.
You were.
But I had no idea who he was. I'm here in the DIT crew, and I've seen this blonde guy in the back of a car just zoom straight past. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But it's funny, actually, like, talking about that. I mean, like, but my question is to you, how has working on set helped you building your social brand? Like, learning everything that goes on behind the scenes. How has that helped you building your own brand?
Well, Hollywood is glamorized to be this sophisticated, you know, golden boy, you know, place where all the big names are. But to tell you the truth, when you get on a set, it is chaos. There is fighting, yelling, shouting. It's like no other industry.
That's nonstop.
It's nonstop and it's hectic. But when you meet such creatives who are just as passionate, if not more than you kind of sit back and go, damn, like, I need to go up a notch. So, you know, you were on set that day and you saw how people look each other in the eye and go, we need to make this better. We need to make this shot or this angle. Or
sometimes you'll do the shot 100 times over. Like,
100
they won't stop until they have the shot.
And on the 99th go, they'll go, it's really good, but not there.
But there was a speck of hair.
But yeah, there was like a speck I didn't like. But you look at that and you go, wow, that's awesome. And I was fortunate enough to be on a set called True Spirit, which was shooting in 2022 on the Gold Coast. And seeing how the director worked with the actors really pushed me in the direction of the industry isn't just about being an actor. It's about being a writer, a producer, you know, listening to how the camera operator speaks to the actors as well. So it's about having an eye for all the different parts of the industry, for me. And as I said, whoever is watching this, just know that the process of getting to where you want to be, it's just that, but it takes so much time and energy, and when you at your lowest point, that's when something will come. That's all I can say.
Sweet, man. I wanted to just touch on this. So how does it feel? Because I have a big following as well on social media. I know that you know you grind so hard to build it up. You finally get it, and then it might not feel as big and monumental as you think it feels. But I want to get your insight on it actually. How does it feel to have such a big social media following?
It means nothing to me. I used to think it did when I was, you know, really young, like 16. I used to go, if I, you know, get another follower, I'm going to get a boost of dopamine and it's going to feel great. And, you know, when you hit 100K and you see that 100 pop up, you go, oh my God. To tell you the truth, it means nothing. Nobody's bigger than anyone else. And I mean that wholeheartedly. And I think it's important for people to understand that we're all alike. We've all got problems. And we all go home and get in the car and go, after a long day, right? And for social media, because it's such a fake world, you should never take it too seriously. Ever.
No. I'm interested. Do you feel like building that following up has opened a multitude of opportunities for you though?
It has.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to touch on. Although it doesn't mean a lot, it does allow brands to see you and for people to see your craft. You know, and I've been very fortunate that with that, you know, grinding, I've had enough support along the way to go, okay, this is working, this process for me. And there's never been a day in my life I've gone, screw it. You know, there's days where you go, this just, you know, isn't, you know, where I want to be. But like I said, having a close group of people in my life, one of them's actually in this room, and it's Spiros, who's behind the camera. All of last year, when I was probably at my most grinding on social media, Spiros was the only person I'd call and say, you need to come over, we need to shoot this. And he'd be like, okay, let's do it. And I'm forever indebted to that, Spiros. So, yeah, the social media has allowed me to work with brands where I've gone, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Everyone needs a Spiros.
Everyone needs a Spiros in their life. And if you have a best friend, do not let them go. And you're going to have fights, but that's right. That's what it's all about.
What would you say your most viral video was?
Oh, God.
It's been a few.
There's been a few. It's actually really funny. So the first time I kind of met Kyle, we sat down and we had an idea of just this little, you know, look to the camera and then do a little montage of shots. And it amassed about 17 million views over the course of about 3 weeks. And we went...
Quite rapidly, yeah.
Like rapidly. And we went, whoa. And there's been a few videos even recently that have hit the 30 mil mark. But sometimes social media is weird because of the algorithm. You might not get anything for literally months on that video.
Yeah,
and then you look at it and you go, That's just hit like 2 million views.
Yeah, you're like,
right?
what?
What?
When it rains, it pours.
But yeah, so but again, you can't, if you go to a stadium full of people, right? You go to an AFL game, rugby game, you're hitting 80,000 people. And it's huge. It's monumental, the size. You can't imagine looking at a number like 30 million going like, there's no way that many eyes have looked at my face.
That's 26 million people in Australia. So that's like
Yeah.
more people than
Yeah.
literally
So
the
it's
country,
weird.
so-
It's really weird to
So,
think about.
Yeah, if they were all to line up in a row, and you just be like, and that more than
Plus
that in Australia,
4 or
Yeah.
5 million. So it's just, it's been monumental. And you almost get numb to the idea of the numbers. Because it's almost a little bit of a game. So I try
How
not
do you
to.
make your videos to get this reach? Like, what's is there like a tip to it? Like, why are they getting so many views?
Well, specifically with my brand of content, I've gone down a very kind of high society content, and people kind of like to see that in this generation because there's not a lot of it anymore. But Instagram actually has videos of how to get better reach, literally to show you this is how you reach this type of audience. So I spent a few months before I really wanted to get into social media to go, right, sit down, get your notebook out, and literally go dot to dot of what is attracting people. But also you want to show who you truly are, right? So you don't want to put a fake persona out where people are going to go, yeah, but that's not real. And so the hardest thing, I think, for people on social media is to be genuine, which is a crazy thing to say.
Even off social media, be genuine.
Exactly. And it's the gift that keeps giving, right? It's the idea that if you're honest and people see that, people will love it. And it's true. Yeah.
I want to embellish a bit.
Yep.
Do you have like a ballpark of how many views you've generated? Because I know I personally do. I'm a bit weird.
What are you at?
So I literally sat down and counted
Yep.
how many views I generated, and it was like 160 million.
Okay.
I imagine yours is like probably crazy, triple that maybe. But do you have a ballpark? Do you reckon?
Have you amassed from TikTok as well and all that, or just
Yep.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Ooh, I could give a ballpark and say I think I've hit maybe 4 or 5 videos on TikTok that have got over 10 million, and then there's been I'd say about maybe 200 million.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. For anyone like watching, I know how hard it is to grow on social media.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. Like you can't just put yourself out there and expect to grow your social media like that.
Yeah.
Especially at 200 million views. That's insane.
I'd almost
So
say
hats
more.
off.
Like, if I'm honest,
It might be
you're
more.
posting like every day.
Yeah.
Videos getting like hundreds and hundreds of thousands
Yeah,
of
it's
views.
probably
Yeah.
more.
I'd even say like 300-400,
Yeah, it
maybe
could
half
be.
a billion, which is like insane to
Yeah.
fathom.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
But I say that as like it's for a bit like a business perspective. It's
Yep.
so hard to get attention. You know?
It is.
Yeah.
And how do you translate views into a formula where people want to either buy your brand,
Yeah.
buy what you're teaching, and that's a really hard thing to do.
is
But the
hard,
way
yeah.
you do it is be genuine
Yeah.
and say to people,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, we're 20 years old, we're 21 years old, right? We're still learning, but we have an idea of how to get there."
And no one's gonna buy from someone who's like fake and like can see
No.
it through the camera.
No, exactly. So, and you've got to have that edge of what makes you different. And that sounds, again, cheesy. What makes me different, right? But it is. What makes you different to somebody else who's doing the exact same thing? And that comes down to personability. Sitting down
Besides
with
the
people.
looks.
Well, yeah, but this, looks can differentiate, right? And people can have it. People can think you look good, and then another person thinks
Yeah,
you look
it's
terrible, right?
objective, so,
It's objective, and subjective. So, yeah.
Sweet, man.
Beautiful. Well, we've got to know a little bit about Chad. So take us to the start. Like, where did it all begin?
Well, I'll go from school time where I kind of got the inspiration to be who I, whoever wanted to become. I went to TSS, the Southport School. very privileged in that fact, and got a great education from my parents. And as I said, I wanted to be an actor my whole life. Now, when you go to an all-boys school and you're a kind of an actor or a creator, and you're a little bit quirky, it doesn't always fit in. And what I found is the more you come outside of the sphere of comfortability, especially in boys, groups, you become a very, you're pushed out.
Isolated.
You're isolated.
Secluded,
You're
like
secluded,
isolated,
right?
yeah.
And what happens is that can happen in many different forms, whether it's bullying or whatever. And I definitely would say that isolation for me actually was the best thing to happen to me, because I didn't have a lot of people to speak to except my family and my sister. So it allowed me to kind of contemplate all my ideas into something that I could eventually show one day. And that's not to say I never had friends. I did. I've had some amazing people in my life. But, when I finished school, I went straight to Bond University. And Bond's really allowed me to kind of express myself as well. I've become a part of their ambassadorship roles to speak to schools. And it's during that process, I am just every day waking up going, what can I learn? What can I take away? Who can I listen to? The craziest thing is I like to sit down and listen to people talk around me, and not in a weird way, but like I like to listen to what people have to say, because as an actor, you're listening to people's stories, and you're listening to a story, and you're visualizing a story, right? So the greatest way to formulate something into a script is through truth. And how do you get truth? It's by listening. But yeah, that's kind of the overall story.
So going on a bit of like your schooling life, what was it like? You were doing what you wanted to do. You're posting these videos. You're getting a lot of attention. Did you get any bullying? Like, was your schooling life hard? Like, what was it like?
So I didn't actually start posting until after school because I was too scared.
Okay.
But what I was getting in school was this kind of... Actually, I was speaking to another filmmaker who went to TSS now, and he said to me, you used to help me with history, but I always used to call you weird after class to all my friends because you were very honest. Honestly, it's not the right way. You were very different in the fact that you would sit with kids that weren't your cup of tea to help them. And I think the biggest thing for me in school was just I just never fit in. I don't know why. I never really found a place where I could talk to people in a manner that they would enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, a friendship is about a trade-off, How can I help you? How can you help me? And as an actor, in the most selfish way, sometimes we can't express our ideas. So I just found it very hard to connect with people at that stage of my life. But I was always nice, and I tried to just get around as much as I could. Which is where I got my inspiration for my first project. And yeah, we're in a very, very nice place with that now, which is cool.
So
It's exciting, yeah.
being so creative yourself,
Yep.
did you find that school really tried to put a limit on your imagination in regard to not being able to flesh out your ideas and really live to your true vision?
I think the culture did. The teachers were amazing by facilitating my process and almost listening to me. And I think it was with Spiros as well. Spiros, had a lot of friendships with the teachers about, what he loved doing. But for me, it was at TSS, the culture is this kind of masculine way of life. And if you don't fit into that mold, you're secluded. And because of that, I just found it so hard to, as you say, express what I love doing. So it did limit me, but I'm not going to bag out TSS. I think it's one of the most wonderful schools, and it has some amazing traits about it.
So my reason for saying that, not just because of TSS itself, like it not just because it's an all-boys school, but I feel like in general, over time, school does try and suppress, from what you can truly achieve because they want you to confide to a certain system.
Yeah. Absolutely. And every school is different. Every school has its positives and negatives. I'm sure we all went to different schools and we all had a different experience, right? And we all have different interests. Some of us may have gone through school and it worked for us, actually. What we loved doing may have worked in that kind of that environment. But, I think most actors may even go through that journey of having that seclusion, which allows us to kind of develop the mindset of almost sitting in a room and writing down your ideas. And as I said, again, I wouldn't change anything about my schooling life because it worked for me in the end. Yeah.
So as you mentioned before, we worked together,
Yep.
and when I first met you, you had about 12,000 followers. We made some really, really good videos. Count started growing to something ridiculous, like 120,000 views. Some of the videos got, as you said, millions and millions of views. How has that social influence helped you get where you want to be?
I think it's proved to me that if you're passionate enough about something, people will put their time into seeing you develop, right? And you see a number like that, right? You go from 1,000 views, and that's like amazing. And then you see 10,000, and it becomes this dopamine lift, and you go, all right, I want more. And then there's a point where you go, almost the views don't even matter anymore. It's, I just want to put out what I like. And if people like it, perfect, amazing. And that's, I think, where I've reached. I've reached a point that I don't need numbers to make me feel happy, because that can lead to a very dark path, I think, for people.
But I think it has really helped you with your success and getting your modeling gigs, and it's been unreal.
It has, and shout out Kako Media, because as I said, that first video was the inspiration.
It's not just the video though.
No,
I want to touch on is a big part of it is making relatable content.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of your content is quite relatable, and people mass share it.
Yeah.
Do you think that was your target? And if someone else wanted to kind of replicate and try and build their social presence, how would you recommend they do that? Would they go down that route, or would they go down a controversial route, or what would you say?
It depends, I think, on what how you want people to see you. Okay. For me, I realized in order to gain a following, people had to see a video and go, that's cool, I'll send it to a friend. And the controversial route is a completely different ballpark, which I don't think I'll ever go into. Because what you do is you seclude then 50% of your audience into maybe not liking you, right? And then 50% that actually strongly like you. So you're on a spectrum.
And it can give you a real negative connotation, which is what you don't want.
Spin the wrong way, which
exactly.
is not helpful.
But there's a lot of creatives who do that, and they go, I'm okay with that 50% actually not liking me too much. But if this other 50% really, really is positive, that's all I need. But again, I think as an actor who wants to put out, films that invites all types of audiences, you don't want to already have a connotation when they're coming into it going, oh, I've seen this guy before, I didn't like his stuff, right? On social media. As I said, I've always just wanted to put out stuff that people have a bit of a laugh at the end of the day. I used to take it too seriously. And then you kind of look at it and go, does it really matter?
Was there any point when you were creating the content that you went from passion to work, and then you really had to step back and be like, this is not passion for me anymore, this is more work?
Absolutely. And recently there was a point for me where I've got such a beautiful team around me now, but I did kind of sit down with them and go, do I really love what I'm putting out every day? And we kind of redeveloped kind of what truly motivated me to wake up and go, I want to create. And that has been actually just to simply take a step back, get off the social media. There's I like this reference from Jimmy Carr. It's the fact that there's the destination and the journey ahead, right? But in between, it's actually that process in there that you'll look back on, in 80 years' time and go, that was the best part about all of it, right?
Very true.
Because once you've reached your limit of how the ceiling of how big you can be, whether you're a businessman, an actress, an actor, whatever it may be, you'll look back and go, well, damn it, I really wish I enjoyed that more. All that hard work.
It's nice that you acknowledge that now, though. And you can move forward with that idea towards it.
Yeah.
So talking about all the views and
Yep.
all of the reach you've had and the people you've met, what was your first catalyst of success that you had?
It was my first ever play, actually, and I got cast as the lead actor as River in a play. And I remember going home that night, and kind of that catalyst for me was the enjoyment of being in the car ride home, going, "Oh my God, I've finally done it! I've finally been picked!" Right? And that enjoyment and that satisfaction of just going, "Holy crap, I've done it! I finally reached that point in my life where I've become the lead actor in something." It was so amazing.
Did that motivate you to push harder?
Yeah, and year 10 really set the foundation for me to go, well, this is base now. This is what I want every day. But even though that was a small little performance, that was months of rehearsals. We didn't even get to perform it in the end for some specific reasons, but
it's the fact that you got picked.
It's the fact that I got picked. So I was like, yes.
Yeah.
It's like proof of concept. Like you've proven to yourself, okay,
Exactly.
this is something. It's not just a dream anymore.
Yeah.
This is a reality.
Exactly.
And I guess like a lot of entrepreneurs
Yep.
can relate when they make their first sale or
Yeah.
when they get their first gig or whatever. So yeah.
Absolutely.
You've broken past that glass ceiling, so now you can achieve that.
Absolutely.
You can push through, and now the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
To your next barrier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talking about all the success you've had so far, what are your future plans?
Right now, as it stands, I've got 2 big projects in the works: a short film and a 8-part series. And I've written these 2 scripts over the past 6 years, and we're finally, with a great team of mine around me, we're finally in a place where we're starting to speak to companies, which is really cool.
That's huge.
That
is huge.
And that's with the acting side. The modeling side's a bit different. That's a bit more of spontaneous work in terms of you can get a call tomorrow from Versace, right? And they say, we need you in Italy. So I enjoy that side of the industry because it's just so, boom, you got to be there. So I don't actually have any plans with that. It's just whatever comes next. And I love that. Yeah.
So going on that, you've been working on something really exciting called Tether.
Yes.
So I'd really like you to dive just a little bit deep into what is Tether, what role are you playing, what's involved with it, and what is your goal with the short film Tether?
Yeah. Tethered is a short film about a young man who is secluded from society along with his father, and it's based in a farm. And the sister's gone off to university, and the mother left when he was a kid. And for me as an actor, the most passionate thing I find about being an actor is to study the human experience. Now, when we've all gone through grief, right? And we've all gone through loss of some sort, and that pain, what causes that? And that bridge. And for me, there was a character that I really wanted to put onto a script where I could show that immersion and that reality. And so I'm not going to say too much about the film because I want everyone to see it and be excited. But I just love the studying of the human behavior And I think, the character's name is actually called River as well. He is a psychotic. He does some pretty nasty things to his family in order to think that, they'll be right on the other side and everything will pull through. And when you look at that, you go, wow, was his reasons valid? And so I like to challenge the audience and bring the audience on a journey.
I love that.
And
so, yeah.
So what was the process like to be able to come up with something like that?
Years and years of sitting in a room in silence with a cursor looking at you, just blinking. And you're like, what do I write? And
so your brain actually had the Mac loading symbol, not the computer this
literally,
time.
literally. And so Tethered's been in the works, as I said, for a year now. But the Hear Me, the another project I'm working on, that's been 6 years of countless feature drafts, which is between 120 and 150 pages. And then we've pulled it back into a series now. So that's gone from 120 pages to needing to be 350 pages. So, it's such a grueling industry, like all of yours, where patience is the key to success.
Now, going further on that, any of the listeners wanting to write a short film, you're talking about how much hard work and dedication and how involved it is. How would you kind of give someone a bit of a hot tip on how, if they wanted to be a writer, how they'd actually go about it? Because right now you're playing like multiple parts. You're writing, you're directing, you're acting, modeling. But for the writing aspect, what's some tips so they can, take the next step?
Grab a pen and paper. Go out of your house and get in the car or your bike if you don't own a car yet. Go to a cafe and listen. Listen to people talk. There is nothing more potent as a writer than to listen. Too many of us listen to people but not actually even take in what's being said because you're waiting to then say something back, right? So to be able to learn the ability to actually take in the information around you, right? You can go outside and look at a tree and can create an entire story around it. And make it engaging, right? So for me, speaking to anyone who wants to create, learn to just accept there is nothing more amazing than to listen to people's stories. A key figure in my life is my grandfather. He's getting on now. But hearing his stories from World War II, right? Having to survive, be in the underground bunkers while bombs are being dropped. You listen to that and you go, that can't be real. Like, that's a completely different universe. And so, just listening. That's the biggest thing.
Within, like, the film industry, do you think networking plays a really big part?
It's the biggest part. Yeah. It's the only part. No, it really is.
For someone who's like nervous and scared with talking, do you have any tips on like how they could go about networking so they can start, progressing in that industry?
I think getting involved in as much as you can.
I think one major thing, like you've just said with your social brand, is being yourself, right? So
if you're nervous, let people see that because it means you're excited.
That's so true. Yeah, I like that.
Right. I have the privilege of teaching at Somerset College, and I teach the students in kind of the first few weeks to when you get on stage, you're going to be nervous, but turn that nervousness into something positive because it means you do care about your craft, whatever it may be. But the networking, when you talk about that part of the industry as an actor and writer, oh my God, you can have the most amazing talent, but if you don't know the right people, it can only go so far. You need a team around you, and that's what I talk about.
It's a big thing in business too, like
Huge, would be.
Yeah, you can't move mountain on your own.
No, you can't. No. And you want that team. You cannot go through life by yourself. And if you think you can, that will only get you so far. You need people around you to not only lift you, but you to lift them. Because at the end of the day, you need friendships where you genuinely are happy for each other when you have success.
And you grow together, yeah. Like
you grow
you
together.
don't leave them
And the
behind,
hardships and the tough times, and when everything looks down, you call that one person or that group of people up, probably you boys, all call each other up and go, I've had a really hard day. And you all pick each other up, right? That's the biggest thing that I've learned. And I'm so fortunate to have such an amazing group of people around me, you know? And yeah, I'm just so excited for, you know, us to move in the direction we want to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to touch on a couple of Kyle's last points.
Yep.
I know, speaking from experience,
Yep.
I was acting and doing drama during school, and I know Jamos has had same experience
Yep.
as us three as well. I've found it difficult to land acting gigs and signing with agencies that you've got to pay for, and not necessarily getting roles. And I know young kids are, you know, getting disheartened with not getting these roles. What are some tips you have to land acting gigs, modeling gigs? What's some advice you could give to them to generally go out there, give it a go, and know that they're going to get something out of it?
Look at what's around you though already. You know, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, so bear with me. In our entirety, there's only been about 100 billion people ever to live, right? And the amount that it could be is well into, you know, 10 to the 30th power. So a billion, trillion people. You need to look at the bigger picture and already know you've won the lottery.
Yeah.
The people that could ever exist will never exist. And you need to look at the world around you and go, I'm already fortunate. There are people who are really, really suffering. And when it comes to acting, it's a privilege to be in this position anyway. To, you know, be able to create, whether you're a producer, an actor, a writer. And I think we take that for granted a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
But sorry, to answer your question, I think some tips and tricks are, and I cannot say this enough, to just be your true, authentic self. And when you're in that casting process and you're shaking and you're nervous, tell it straight to them and they'll understand. They've seen it before.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest actors of all time are actually the most introverted people. And that's the beautiful thing about the industry that we live in.
So specifically speaking on the topic of acting and
Yep.
modeling, what are some brands that you have worked with in the most recent times?
I've had opportunities to meet with companies. It's really hard to explain. I've worked in the modeling industry with fashion companies known around the world. Now, because I haven't signed specific contracts with them, I probably won't say, but being able to even do that is even a bigger privilege, because at the end of the day, the amount of effort it takes to make these suits, as you know, to make a suit, right?
Yeah.
Takes a lot of hours and a lot of time. And when you wear it and you have to pose and look good, and when the fabric and the material is the most expensive you can get, it's really cool. But it's just a weird thing for me, because I've worked with some amazing brands, but it gets quite complicated.
No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you mention your fashion, because I know your whole Instagram lifestyle is around old money.
Yeah.
And I know we have done research ourselves on who you are, especially jumping on the podcast. I've read through a few comments and it's like, how do I dress like this?
Yeah.
Like this. What can someone do to dress like you?
Find your style that you look at in the mirror and go, damn it, I like it, right? And even if other people go, well, that's a bit weird.
Who cares?
Perfect. I can't stress it enough. Being normal is so overrated. And when you stick out like a sore thumb, sometimes is actually the best thing. But for me, if I like to wear quite just classy gear.
Yeah.
I wear a lot of suits.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does stick out, and people are like, "You're at uni, mate. What are you doing?" But it was really funny, actually. I've never been very much, with the ladies, and I've always found it kind of hard to speak to them. And it was weird. Kyle, when I first met him in like the first week, said, "You need to get some rings, mate. Like put some rings on your fingers." So I'm wearing one that Kyle gave me, like in the first week we met, and I've always kept it because it meant a lot to me. Because that has actually really helped me with the girls, because they've all mentioned it. So I'm like, maybe Kyle's onto something here. So yeah,
Maybe I should be the stylist.
yeah, I know. Maybe I think you should be.
So you got the rings, you got the suit. What sort of a dating advice would you give to the next step?
You're asking me about that. It's weird. I was watching an interview with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And when you look at the tweets they make of each other and when they're in public, they were best friends growing up. And I think that's what I want in somebody, to almost have that relationship where you build a friendship first, where you know the intricacies of each other to a point where you guys are just, it's stupid and it's fun, but it can be serious when you guys need to be, and to just grow with each other. It's like as a guy, if you've got a friend, you want to grow with them, but it's the same with a girl. I think to grow with somebody who, if they are in a different industry, it's probably for the better. You don't want somebody who's in the same industry all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to grow with someone, I think would be so the perfect thing.
Yeah. And did you use any like cheesy pickup lines?
Oh my God, all of them. I remember this one time I was at a uni party, and I thought I'd come in with like the cool comment, and she recognized me from a video, it must have been, and I said it anyway, and she went, "Oh, I thought you were a bit different than that." I went, "I might just shut my mouth because that's not working." But yeah, it's
You learn from your mistakes.
you learn from your mistakes, right, guys? But yeah, like I said, I've always been quite, on the surface, quite a bubbly person, but I'm actually quite an introvert in that fact, and so I've always kind of kept in the the corner of the room while all the other guys are kind of enjoying themselves. So, but you know what, it works for me, and we've all, again, sounding cheesy, we've all got the right person out there. It's just about timing and waiting for that right person. Yeah.
So, for someone who looks at your profile and they want to get started or build a personal
Yep.
brand as big as yours,
Yep.
what would be the first steps that they would take?
What do you want to achieve? Write it down. Who are your heroes? How did they get to where they want to be? People think in this world now that you have to reinvent the wheel. And that's really, really hard to do now, because everything has pretty much been done.
Yeah.
And there'll be someone out there who creates something and goes, "No, it's not." But for the most part, look at the success that has been created and go, that's somebody I'm inspired to be like. But write everything down. Little notes every day. This is what I learned. This is how I can for social media, this is how I could make a video better. It took me a long time with videos to figure out the right editing pathway for me, and the right apps to use and the right website. So with color grading and everything. So it's just a learning process. Yeah, that's probably going to be used a lot tonight, learning. But yeah.
What apps and stuff do you use for your video editing and photo editing and stuff?
It's weird. I hopefully they might sponsor me. It's called Prequel. It's an app on your phone you can get for free. And
will it make Kyle look like you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it literally reignited all my videos into this like colossalness, and it just was so cool. And I've used them throughout my my social media pathway. And for any writers, I use a software called Writer Duet, and that way you can work with other writers on it as well. And that's really helped. And yeah, it's about finding what works for you as well. You know, for one person, it might work. For another, it's, you know, trash. So it's like finding your happy medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite evident you've done well for yourself, and you're only in your 20s and you've still got a big future ahead of you. What's something that you believe someone right now can do to improve themselves?
Finding your purpose. Finding God. You know, and I don't mean that in a religious sense. I mean that as in finding the source code to why you're here. Nobody really knows why they're here, but it's about making the best of what you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
And I think the most beautiful thing about being human is that we're not stuck in one place. We can mold ourselves to be whatever we want. But it does take that courage and hard work to go, you know what? Everyone's here and it's working for them. I don't want to be there. Yeah. I want to improve myself. And you know what? People come into our lives and people say, you know, everyone, you know, means something to you. Some people aren't meant to be there for a reason. And that pain, and once you realize what it's all about, you kind of go, you know what, I maybe only do need a small group of people in my life to make it work.
Yeah.
But to improve, really just finding what makes you happy and waking up. I'm a true believer in that. And well, for me, gymming, that's my outing. I don't club, I don't party, and that is not a pick-me thing at all. It's just I like to go in the gym and work out, go home, go to bed, and then to the next day. And that's worked for me my entire life.
So who would you like to see jump on the next Blacksmiths podcast?
Oh, God. Joe Rogan, I think.
That'd be interesting.
Having Joe Rogan in the room, that man, although he's not probably the smartest man, in, you know, always in the room, he is connected with the smartest people.
Yeah.
He is so good at what he has done for himself and the people he's interviewed. So, yeah.
And that falls under the aspect we were talking about before, networking.
It's such a huge thing. Networking is everything. And Joe Rogan is probably the greatest networker we've ever seen in our generation.
Pressure's on, Rogan.
Yeah.
Come on, Rogan. Please.
So for people that are tuning in and haven't seen you before and want to follow along for your journey, where can people find you?
On Instagram and on TikTok, it's Chad with 2 A's. That's actually how you spell my name. Don't ask me why. I don't know if my parents were drunk or not when they had me. No. Chad Hewitt, and yeah, that's where you'll find me.
No, perfect. So I think we're going to wrap it up there, Chad. It was awesome to have you on. For the viewers that want to tune in for the next podcast, thank you for watching into this one. We'll see you again soon.